if you have 10 to 12% growth in net new business, that's the total number of customers in your business. And simultaneously, you put the processes in place, sales and marketing, to drive cross-sell revenue. That's revenue per client, and grow that by 10 to 12% a year, both very achievable numbers. Did you know you can organically double the size of your business in about 36 months?
Are you a consulting business owner seeking a better way to scale to your next million in revenue? Accelerate Sales Podcast features other experts who have cracked the code to predictable revenues with proven sales systems that quickly increase revenue and get you on the fast track back to doing what you do best. Now let's accelerate your sales with today's episode.
Welcome to the Accelerate Sales Podcast. So you're going to learn three things today. So one is two ways to get revenue, new revenue, and one I don't think you've ever heard of. Two is why inbound is not great for B2B. That's right, not good, not great. And the third is quarterly reviews, why they're so important. So you're welcome to take notes as always. And if you're new to the show, I welcome you, right? And I'd love you to subscribe if you're enjoying the content. Also, if you're a regular, right? Love those iTunes reviews. Thank you for the ones that have sent them through, but I'd love a few more. We're going to you can take notes, but we'll also have the key links because there's lots of great information given on the podcast. So we'll have those in there. And you can also go to paulhigginsmentoring.com/podcast to get the transcription. So today's guest has actually spent 25 years in sales, but not just sales and marketing. He's an avid learner, and you'll see him share that. He quotes so many people and so many great things. I took lots of notes. You're going to do the same. So what I'm going to do now is hand you over to Darrell Amy from Revenue Growth Engine. So welcome, Darrell.
That's great to be here, Paul. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, I've had fun in the prep, so I can only imagine it's going to get better from here, right? And why don't we kick off with, who are some of the clients that you love to work with?
I love working with companies that want to grow, and in particular, companies that are in the business-to-business space that have sales teams. So any company that has a sales team and wants to grow, and by nature of having a sales team probably means you have some sales and marketing alignment challenges. That's exactly where I love to play.
Yeah, great. And when you say sales teams, what's the sweet spot? Is there, how many people?
Yeah, well, it's good. A lot of the companies we're working with in my consulting business use the entrepreneur's operating system as described in the book Traction by Gino Wickman. So inside that environment, we're helping a lot of B2B companies that have turnover of, say, $5-10 million. They want to get to $10-20 million in that type of range. So you'll see sales teams of 5 to 20 people, in just depending on the industry and size of company. I've done enterprise sales development programs and all of that, but I like working with sales teams where you can get in there and actually get your hands involved and really affect some change.
Yeah, and I love the fact that the better you make that sales team, the owner is also freed up. So I love the fact that there is that direct connection versus the enterprise where, I spent most of my life at Coca-Cola and there's too many layers.
Yeah, it is fun, in the consulting business, being involved in clients where you can see the change and where you can actually directly affect it and know that you've moved the needle. To me, that's more fulfilling. And I'm like you, I grew up in the enterprise space. My last employer before I started my consulting companies in 2004 was Toshiba. So we had a $40 billion global company. It was a great company to work for, but it was kind of hard to see your contribution to that bottom multi-billion dollar bottom line, right? And so I really do enjoy what we get to do now. And like you're saying, this is fun because we get to get involved. We get to see the change. We get to participate in it, and we get to see the results in a lot of cases rather quickly.
Yeah, definitely. So, you talk about marketing and sales alignment. So, tell us a little bit more about what you see in that space at the moment. I think, it's very topical that, the two have to work hand in hand, but what's the way that you see that working in some of these smaller businesses that you help?
Yeah, it's a challenge. The two need to work hand in hand, but sadly, it's rare that they work hand in hand. And this has been an issue for a long time. And I am particularly passionate about this, Paul, because I've spent my career with a foot in both. Started straight out of university into sales. I was in business to business technology sales, extremely competitive, loved it. Sales management, ran a branch, recruited dealers in a region and managed all of that. And then launched a sales training company in 2004, all the way through to this day. I'm still engaged in sales training. I'm a partner in another business called Selling from the Heart, and we're equipping sales teams. And so I love that. I love sales. I love that whole world. At the same time, when I launched my first business, this is the world of consulting. And this is so fun because, you tell your story. I launched my first business. I go out and I do a sales training program for a great company in Houston, Texas. And at the end of it, the owner of the company says, Darrell, that was fantastic, but my website doesn't say anything about what you just taught us. Do you build websites? And being my first client, the answer was, yes, sir. We build websites. So I pulled that marketing degree out of my hip pocket, dusted it off. And next thing you know, I'm, doing sales training. And then we spun up a digital marketing agency and went on that whole journey of, web, search, social, inbound, account-based marketing, all of that. Totally fun and cool. But what I noticed in the middle of that, with one foot in the sales training world and one foot in the marketing world, is there a lot of times, sometimes they were even pulling in opposite directions. Best case scenario, they were talking totally different languages. And, there's this pointing of fingers back and forth going, you need to give us more leads. And then Mark is like, we gave you leads. Those leads are garbage. It's all back and forth. And that's when I was, I was getting ready to present to a group. It was a conference on growth. And I was getting ready to present to a group of marketing leaders and sales managers. And it was kind of funny because I knew how to present to salespeople. I knew how to present to marketing people, but now they were in the same room and the business owners were at the back. I was like, what am I going to say? And that's what it really got me thinking about how would we align sales and marketing if we took everything that we knew needed to be done for sales and best practices for marketing and put them together. That's actually where the revenue growth engine came from. It was my first description of the growth engine, which eventually turned into a book. But all of this, long answer to a short question. But the idea here is there's a lot of benefit for businesses that get sales and marketing aligned and pointed in the direction they want to go. And I've got a couple ideas on how businesses can do that. But sales and marketing alignment, to me, is really, really low-hanging fruit for a lot of organizations.
Yeah, and what are those ideas? You got a couple of ideas?
Yeah, well, it's so funny because when we're doing growth strategy workshops, and I mentioned with our company that works with companies that use the entrepreneur's operating systems, we do growth strategy workshops. And in the vernacular of EOS, everyone has a vision traction organizer, or a VTO. And so we're like the double click into the sales and marketing part of that VTO. And so we're helping companies get clarity on a couple things that are really, really critical. And I actually just came off a meeting, a workshop meeting with a client up in Cleveland, Ohio, great company. And they needed to get clarity on their ideal client.
Yeah.
When you asked them what their ideal client was before the workshop, they said, well, anybody with between 15 and 5,000 employees. All right. You go, that's everybody. And when it's everybody, it's nobody.
Correct.
So one of the best things that sales and marketing can do to begin the process of alignment is to get in the room together and begin to talk about who is our best fit client, who's our ideal client. And in Revenue Growth Engine, we talk about ideal client profile, and we're not the only ones to do that. I'm a huge believer in this, but what I think is you need to look for someone that has value and fit. And value is that they can buy and need to buy everything that you sell. And when my very first company, I mentioned Office Technology, we would go in and we would get an order and we'd come back to the office. And I mean, I'm talking back in the days of fax machines and like 4-part orders. I'd come back with my order and I'd go, we own this account. To which my manager would go, hey, congratulations on the business, and I know you sold them this product, but do they own this product from us? No. Do they own this service? No. Do they own this? So he would say, well, you got a foot into that account, but they are not yet 100% sold. They're only 100% sold when they've purchased everything that they can buy from you. So that ideal client, so it's stuck with me, 100% sold is always the goal. And I think this is a metric that every sales and marketing team should use for their entire client base, and also per client is, how are we doing on 100% sold? What's our market penetration? And I'm just fresh thinking of this company I was working with earlier today. 100% of their clients buy their core service, but the next best service in terms of market penetration was 25%, and it went down from there. So, hey, you want to grow revenue? Aim at 100% sold. Get sales and marketing aligned around that ideal client that can buy everything that you sell. And in their case, it wasn't 20 to 5,000. It was really in about the 200 to 500 full-time employee range in some specific industries where they had a sweet spot. Yeah. Now, I don't know about your company and I don't know about our listeners, but my guess is most listeners don't have a marketing and sales budget like Nike or Coca-Cola or insert Apple or whatever company. You've got to be focused in how you use your limited sales and marketing budget. So understand who your ideal clients are. And this is a great point of alignment, is to get sales and marketing and maybe even operations in the room and discuss that ideal client and get clarity on it. And that right there is that gets you, to use the American football analogy, I think that gets you to the 50-yard line. I don't know how that fits into Australian football, but we can figure that out later. Yeah, you guys have fun.
Deep in the forward line, right? We'd call it.
There you go. Okay, well, either way, getting alignment on that ideal client profile is hard work, but it's really meaningful way to begin to get sales and marketing aligned. And that's the first way that I think I've seen a lot of teams start that journey. And it's a really important journey to take.
Yeah, look, I think it's so important, and to me, it's got to feel uncomfortable that you're leaving clients, that you're saying no to clients, and the same as you. Like for me, I was doing coaches and consultants, which still make up a lot of the audience, which you probably are, but it's like coaches and consultants is very broad, right? It's like
very broad.
How do you narrow that down further? And, as we spoke prior to coming on, I'm talking more around cloud partners because it was something that I was successful at. So therefore, I'm going to lose some coaches and consultants. I'm going to lose probably some of you watching and listening now, right? But I
don't want to hang out and listen. It's going to be good.
Yeah, but the thing
I get
is,
it. Yeah, absolutely.
Then focus. It's more of that penetration of the people that I'm truly got. And then, like you said, it's not the sales and marketing, it becomes easier because then you've actually got case studies, you've got testimonials, you've got repeatable processes, right? And I know that you said there were sort of two key ways to make revenue. What are those two key ways? And sorry, this is off your website and your LinkedIn profile, not what you said today.
Yeah,
but what are the two key ways to make revenue? Because I think you've hinted at one, but what's the other?
Well, I think this is really good. So the revenue growth engine, every company has a growth engine. And I got this realization, by the way, one day when I was mowing my lawn, Paul. You go, you mow your lawn? Aren't you supposed to pay people to do that? Yeah, I get it. But it's like 45 minutes where I can listen to great podcasts like this one, and I can actually get something done and nobody can call me, right? It's all. So I mow my lawn. I know you're not supposed to do that, but I'll probably do that for the rest of my life. Yeah. Plus, I like the really straight lines. So I'm mowing my lawn one day, and I have a big lawn, and I have this riding lawnmower. So I'm driving down, my zero-turn lawnmower, and I'm looking down the driveway at my car, and I realize my car has an engine. This lawnmower has an engine, but there's a big difference between my vehicle, my car, and my lawnmower. And if I wanted to drive across the United States or from Sydney to Melbourne, I could do it in my lawnmower. People would make a lot of fun of me, and it would take me a very long time, right? Or I could do it in my car. And my lawnmower, by the way, has a 24.8 horsepower engine, which is great for a lawnmower. Yeah. But my vehicle is 420 horsepower. So I'll take the vehicle. So anyhow, the engine, what's driving the engine? Well, there's two things driving your engine. There's only two sources of revenue. And this is really critical for companies to realize. One we've alluded to already, that's cross-selling more to your current clients. And then there's the other one that, with sales in our DNA that we think about right away, and that's net new. We want to ring the bell on a new logo. We got another client, all that stuff. Great. But here's the deal. And this is what I've noticed. Most companies are usually good at one or the other. They're good at net new, good at going out and landing the deal, or they're good at cross-sell, but they really struggle when it comes to growing their business. If you can, when you can get both of those going at the same time, now you get exponential growth. So think about this. It's really amazing. If you have 10 to 12% growth in net new business, that's the total number of customers in your business. And simultaneously, you put the processes in place, sales and marketing, to drive cross-sell revenue. That's revenue per client, and grow that by 10 to 12% a year, both very achievable numbers. Did you know you can organically double the size of your business in about 36 months? Double, from 10% year over year growth in each one of those core areas. The problem is most companies, they think of growth and they think of one or the other. And usually with a sales mindset, we think of net new.
Yes.
Let's go get some more new business. But it's kind of like, I remember I was at a conference a couple of years back, and Tiffany Bova was there speaking to a group of tech people. Now, Tiffany's fantastic. She's the chief evangelist for Salesforce.
Yeah, and a prior guest. So big shout out.
Fantastic!
We'll put the link to an interview in the show notes.
Big time fan of Tiffany Bova, especially when she stood up in front of 2,500 sales and marketing leaders in the tech space, and basically, if I may paraphrase loosely, said, "Y'all are idiots." I was like, "Oh, this is going to be good." She was much more eloquent than that. But she basically said, "You're like people back in the 1800s that sold everything and took a chuck wagon out to the West Coast to go mining for gold. And you went up in the Klondike, you risked your life, you put your savings and your very life at risk, and you started digging for gold, and you found that first gold nugget, and you said, 'Yes, we found a gold nugget.' You rang the bell, you wrote it on the sales board, and then you said, 'All right, let's go find another gold mine,' right?" And and everyone laughs, but it's a kind of a painful laugh when you realize that the epidemic in business now for growth is the low-hanging fruit in most businesses is cross-selling additional products and services to existing clients. Nobody's putting effort, and what I would say, and I advocate for in Revenue Growth Engine, process. So you were talking about behind that. What are the sales and marketing processes? And I would say if there's an area where you're weak, if you're weak in cross-sell, put processes in place. Yeah. Don't just try to throw people at it. Put processes in place. Don't just go to your net new sales team and go, "You should be cross-selling more to your current customers. Why don't berate them during sales meetings?" Put processes in place. And this is where, these two drivers, net new and cross-sell, lead to two metrics. And there's two metrics that should be on every business owner, sales leader, and marketing leader's home screen. One is number of clients, and second is revenue per client.
Yeah.
Both of those should be going in the right direction. And if one's growing and the other's not, you know where your problem is.
Yeah. I think that's so important. And I suppose the Coke, it's been around for 150 odd years, 240 or $250 billion company. It was ingrained into us. Yes, net new, and it was probably about 10%, but it was that account management, that customer lifetime value.
That's right.
And I think the key thing that we probably got right before a lot of others was that because you've got it doesn't mean that the client wants it, right? So the classic of, okay, well, here's a grid of all our services, all of our customers, we're just going to go and sell that, right? And it's like the Henry Ford, you can have any color as long as it's black. It's like, okay, I don't care if you don't want the product or not, you're getting it because it's on my list, right?
That's right. That's right.
The real art is, and I think we're much better now, is like you said, that ideal client, what their key pain points are, and really understand, do they need this product? Because I have seen companies that have gone too far in the cross-sell version and making sure it's got that balance. And how do you help people make sure that they get that balance right?
Yeah, this goes to another core principle that I am a massive believer in, and that is buyers don't buy products and services. They don't buy SaaS or cloud. They don't buy your widget. They don't buy that. They buy the outcomes those products and services deliver. Clay Christensen would say, and Bob Mesta would say, they don't buy a product. They hire the product for a job to be done. And so this is really, really critical to understand. Is what are the outcomes, the business outcomes that your client and prospect wants? And if you're in B2C, that your customer wants, right? What are the business outcomes? And this is so critical when you get into a cross-sell situation. So I know one of the things you like to talk about is what is one of your best sales tips. I'll give you an easy sales tip for cross-sell. Quarterly business reviews. If you don't like quarterly, just say periodic business reviews. Some regular cadence where you meet with your clients, not all of them, your key clients. Do the 80-20 rule, right?
Yeah.
And in that meeting, and you go, well, Darrell, nobody wants to do that. Right. Because up until now, you've probably been wasting their time, right? By talking about how well your company did and all the great new products your company, no one wants to care about that. Yes. What we need to talk about in a quarterly business review is their business. And so I'm a huge advocate for starting a business review and the bulk of it being about their business. Questions, they don't have to be complicated. Like, hey, Paul, I'm curious as you look forward into 2022 in this dynamic environment, what are the things that are top of mind for your business right now? What are your top strategic initiatives in your organization? Where are you going? What are you excited about? These types of things. And by the way, just a little footnote on that. In sales world, we were trained to talk about pain. Find the pain, right? All of that. And all due respect to Neil Rackham and spin selling and all of that, I think we get a little too negative and we should be a lot more positive. Like, where do you want to go? What are you excited about, right? We're trying to sell on pain and rather than aspiration. Anyhow, it's a whole other podcast episode. But I think that that quarterly business review should be about their business. And, when I manage a sales team and there's something in the pipeline, I want to look at that item in the pipeline. I want to say, can you tell me, Paul, what is the business outcome this is going to help them achieve?
Yeah.
And if they can't say it, or if the sales rep says, oh, it's going to make them more efficient. Now that's marketing mush, right? What specifically is that business trying to achieve? And how is this going to help them? Because unless you can attach your recommendation to one of their top business outcomes, either goals or challenges, your chances of closing it are zero. It's not a pipeline, it's a fantasy list, right? And so the quarterly business review, though, even if you didn't get the business outcomes when you sold the first deal, that's okay. Because at the quarterly business review, then you can go in and say, hey, Paul, before we get started, I'm curious, how's business? What are you most excited about? I noticed that you guys are building a new facility on the other side of town. I saw a press release, ... I was reading in your annual report. And then engage in substantive business conversation. And that forms the basis to solve the answer to your problem of cross-sell. Because now I'm only going to recommend something that's going to help them in the direction of their business. Or I'm going to, it may be one of my products. It may be a referral to somebody I know. It doesn't matter. What's happening now is I'm positioning myself in that business as a trusted advisor. And we like to talk about trusted advisor. Every sales rep goes, I want my sales team to be seen as trusted advisors. Okay, well, to be a trusted advisor, we got to give advice. And to give advice, we've got to understand their business, not just ours. And that,
totally
so fired up about this, Paul.
Yeah. And you mentioned before around, your mentor saying that you hadn't sold 100%, right? Mm-hmm. At Coke, we used to always say that you don't have a plan unless it's a joint customer plan, right? Like it doesn't matter how much you think that's what's going to get the number. So the exact same thing. And to be honest, I was so fortunate for 18 years to just the strategies and the tools I use to get clients. But so some of the biggest retailers in Australia, we would sit down with our MD, their MD, and they'd talk about both businesses, their goals. And then, a long way down, we'd actually get to the category of, called soft drinks to really influence. But that's, exact same thing that you're talking about. Now, we were doing that back in the 1990s, right? So, I do think if you've never done that before, there's an enormous opportunity, and you can obviously reach out to Darrell about how to do that. Now, there's one more question I want to ask you, Darrell, before we get into the sales dive, and that is, you said inbound is not a way to get sales for B2B. I'll quote you off your site. You say, why inbound's not good for B2B, and there are alternatives. Tell me a little bit more about that, because I thought inbound was a great way for B2B. I want to be proven wrong.
Yeah. So this is controversial. So this is a controversial segment of the podcast. And I'm going to speak in generalities. And by the way, I love inbound marketing, and I'm a huge fan. I've been involved with companies like HubSpot for years. What I mean by that is this. If you know if you're in B2B and you know who your ideal customer is, then you should be able to know who your ideal prospects are in like by name. Like, these are the companies we want to go after. To use my example earlier, we want to go after these companies that have 200 to 500 employees in this geography, in these industries. Yes. That is a specific group of businesses. Now, if you're in that world, whereas inbound marketing, let's say you have a massive marketplace, maybe you sell roofing or you sell, plumbing services in Melbourne or Los Angeles or whatever. Yeah, there's hundreds of thousands, millions of potential clients, and they're online looking, and they should find you and all of that. But in business, where I know who my ideal prospects are, what I don't need to do is sit and just wait for a fish to hopefully swim by and hopefully nibble on one of my lead magnets, and then hopefully engage with the follow-up stream of emails. And then hope is not a strategy.
Yes.
What I do need is, with that group of ideal prospects, I need engagement. So for my sales team, the rule is you can call on any prospect you want, but these ideal prospects, guaranteed 100% of the time, they will hear from someone from our company on this particular cadence, this many times a quarter. Sales rep goes, well, I don't want to call on that company. Paul, not a problem. We'll give that account to somebody else. But these companies, you can sell to anyone you want to, but these companies will hear from us, because unless you do that, it doesn't get done. And then as a sales leader, you're out in the field, or you're on a Zoom call with a prospect in your territory who you've wanted to call on, but no one got around to. And then you find they bought from your competitor. Okay. So inbound is fantastic. However, when you are in B2B and you know who your ideal client is, you need outbound on sales. Like, we're going to touch these folks. And on the marketing side, marketing people, we don't get off the hook either. Yeah. Because we like to say, we sent out this many emails, we got this many engagements, we did this many social posts. That's all fantastic. But what I want to know is, what engagement did we get with these companies that are on our ideal prospect list? Yeah. And the goal, the sales goal is 100% coverage. The marketing goal is 100% engagement with every one of these accounts. Now, are you going to get there? No. But it changes the perspective of marketing to go, I'm just going to throw that out there and hope that somebody gets it, to these 5 accounts. I can't get them to engage. What are we going to do? Let's figure it out, right? Even if we need to like FedEx them something, or we need to send a candygram, or I don't know, let's figure out how to engage with these people. And so that's where I've watched a lot of companies. And once again, I believe in inbound marketing for the right for the right scenarios. I really do. It's an incredible, powerful mindset and movement. However, in B2B with defined ideal clients, I've watched companies kind of lean on going, well, we'll get marketing, will get us some leads. No, you don't need leads. You already know who they are. What you need is engagement with those ideal prospects.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I think, if you look at the phases, it sort of went into that marketing automation and we'll do, like you said, lead magnets, we'll do quizzes, we'll do everything, which, sort of has been saturated, right? And now I think, that balance is going back to, yes, we want to have real conversations, like you said, to really understand the ideal prospect. And, LinkedIn, fortunately, is a brilliant way to get a lot of that information, right? So you can find people a lot easier to do that outbound than ever before. And I do think, and it's great to hear an expert like you back it up, I do think now it is a better blend, which is that sales and marketing alignment. But honestly, Darrell, I could speak to you forever on this, but I want to be respectful. And maybe we have you back again to talk more. Fun. But what I want you to do now is get ready for the sales dive. So you ready?
I'm ready. Bring it on. Let's do it.
Yeah, I think you were born ready. So the first one, what are some daily sales habits that help you to accelerate your sales?
Yeah, this one is going to be a little different maybe than what you might normally hear. I'm going to say learning. If you're going to be a trusted advisor, if you're going to add value, you got to learn something. You got to have something to talk about. And so I think that one of the best things sales professionals can do is block time for prospecting, you block time for, other things, block time every week to learn something. And when I say learn something, I'm not just talking about your product. I'm talking about business, the people that you sell to, whether it's picking up a book, listening to a book, taking a college course, reading Harvard Business Review, doing something substantive so that you have something to talk about and you have some real value to add. So I would say learn something, make a learning plan. And it's up to you as a sales rep. Your company's not going to provide this.
Yeah.
This is the X factor, I believe, in what makes a successful salesperson.
Yeah. And the great thing, you're already halfway there because you're watching or listening to this podcast, which is, I think, one of the best ways to learn.
Great start. Right? It is a great start.
Perfect. Just up your speed and then you'll be right.
Things like that. Look at this. So this just came in yesterday. Yep. This is the most recent edition of the Harvard Business Review. I didn't go to Harvard Business School. I hope they would let me in if I applied, but it really doesn't matter because there are all kinds of things in this magazine, not every article, but I start quoting these articles in my conversations and I put them on LinkedIn. And by the way, when I do, I tag the authors. So now I'm engaged and positioning myself with the best thought leaders in business, and I'm learning something from a magazine, and this is, this type of stuff is extremely valuable. And, I could go into books. There's my books I've read so far this year. I'm stacking them up because the more that I learn, the more that I earn.
Yeah.
And the more that I invest in myself, the more that investment in myself is an investment in my current and future clients. I'm actually able to be a trusted advisor when I learn something new.
Right. Well, you mentioned HubSpot before, but what other technology is essential for you to accelerate your sales?
Yeah, I think the core technologies right now are the connectors, because here's the deal. If you've got, ideally everything would live on one platform.
Yeah.
But the reality is it doesn't. In most organizations, you've got a lot of different platforms. So to me, the killer app right now is anything that syncs all of it up. So if you've got a CRM, is it connected to your marketing automation system? Is it connected to your core data on your customers and all of that? And so I think right now, and this, you talk about cloud, right? So the world we live in makes it possible for all these things to talk in ways that, it used to not be possible. So I don't get as worked up about what CRM or whether you need a marketing automation system or sales sequences, or there's all kinds of cool technology out there. Most important thing to me is, does it all talk to each other?
Yeah.
And so I think the integration is the key thing nowadays.
Yeah, great. And are you a Zapier or a Zapier?
I use that for my own business. I'm a Zapier or Zapier, GIF or GIF, right? Tomato. I use Zapier. HubSpot bought PieSync. I think PieSync's amazing.
Yeah.
Because it's real-time sync. But there's a lot of ways to get that done. The important thing is that you get it done and that it's, that everything's connected. once it's connected, then you can figure out how to improve it. And I think less is more. And there's too much stuff in most people's MarTech stack. So
brilliant. Well, look, unfortunately, we've got to the end, but it's not quite the end because you're going to share a summary. So in one sentence, what can someone do to go and 10x their sales based on your wisdom, not just what you've shared today, but the wisdom that you've learned through all of those books and podcasts and everything else you've acquired? Like, what's one key thing that someone can do to 10x their sales?
Process. I'm going to say process because business runs on processes, or for my Canadian friends, process.
Yeah.
And Australian friends.
Correct.
In the challenge of sales and marketing, and I used to work in the software world where we helped companies map out business processes and apply software to make them better. The problem is every area of business runs on process until you get to sales and marketing. And then it's like the Wild West, right? There's a couple,
Yes.
It's like literally Wild West. There's a couple sales reps hanging outside the saloon, flipping coins, tumbleweeds blowing by, and sales managers like, y'all need to go make some more calls, right? But there's no process. Yeah. New people come on board, they get frustrated, they leave because there's no process. Marketing, we're not much better in marketing either. It's like, hey, what's the latest, greatest shiny object? Or, hey, run a campaign. Let's do a webinar. That's all great stuff. But what are the processes? And so I think the best thing a company can do to prepare themselves to scale 5x, 10x, 100x is put the processes in place, and then you can accelerate growth.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, look, I've filled my sheet. You've got your HBR there. I've got my interview sheet where I've absolutely filled it with your wisdom. So it's been great.
You're too kind.
Yeah, and you can go and find out more. Obviously, the links are going to be in the show notes, but if you want to go right now, it's revenuegrowthengine.net is the key site. And you can also go to revenuegrowthpodcast.com. Mm-hmm. But we'll have that and all the other links that have been mentioned by Darrell on the podcast and in the show notes, I should say. But Darrell, just wonderful having you on today, and thanks for sharing all your wisdom.
Thoroughly enjoyed it, Paul. Thanks for all you do.
I really love that interview with Darrell. He just shared a lot of value, but also did it in such a fun and entertaining way. So, a couple of key things that I loved is those 2 ways to make revenue and the cross-sell in particular, where he talked about why B2B, and you should have your key target, and marketing and sales should have touch points on them. I love that. And also that quarterly review. So, it was a wonderful episode. So I'd love for you to maybe share it with somebody else, maybe 1, 10, how many people you think you could share it with to become a real rock star. And it's absolutely fantastic. There are notes, as I said at the start, but you can go to paulhigginsmentoring.com to get the full transcript. And also, why not check out some of our solo shows as well, which I know you're going to thoroughly enjoy. Please take action to accelerate your sales.
I'm fired up after today's episode. What about you? But hey, before you go, learning is just one piece of the puzzle. Now it's time to put today's strategy into action. Head over now to today's show page at paulhigginsmentoring.com/podcast and share how you'll put it into action. Be sure to head over to your favorite podcast platform and subscribe, rate, and review the show. Tell me what your favorite episode is. And don't wait 1 minute more to gain access to your pulse check at paulhigginsmentoring.com. This could be the difference between struggling to get more leads and making this next quarter your best one yet.